Morning, everyone. We're just going to give everyone a couple of minutes to join before we get started. Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Protecting Remote and Branch Users with Softcat and Cisco SASE. Today, we have three speakers that I would like to introduce. We have Kevin Doherty and Louis Thomas from Softcat and Nilesh Alai from Cisco. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone that you can submit questions at any time during the webinar using the Q&A tool, which you should see on the Zoom navigation menu at the bottom of your screen. All being well, with time as part of the agenda today, we will take time to go through and answer all these at the end of the session. Please note, a recording of this webinar and a copy of the slides will be shared with you following the event, and an on-demand version of this event will also be live on our Softcat website within the next week. If you have any further questions following the webinar, please speak with your Softcat account manager. I'll now pass you over to Kevin to start the webinar. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ant, and welcome everyone to the webinar. As Ant said, if you've got any questions as we're going through, if you can please put them in the Q&A and we'll cover them as we go along, or any more complex ones I will cover at the end. First thing we want to cover today is how SASE can address the current challenges that you're seeing in your environments. So again, firstly, what are your pain points? If you've got anything, you want to put it in the Q&A or in the chat, we can discuss that. But primarily, what we're seeing at the moment is a shift to more hybrid working. Even now, in the post-COVID era, companies are adjusting their models to recruit users from outside of the traditional 20-mile radius of an arbitrary office, even to other countries. We're seeing more contractors, more third-party support companies, BYOD, IoT devices coming on the network. All of these require access to traditional on-premise applications, as well as more modern public SaaS applications, having this whole users going to anywhere from anywhere angle. This is causing the perimeter of your network to grow and blur as to where it actually starts and ends, causing more blind spots for your traditional security products, which are not able to see into or at all of these SaaS locations. We are seeing more applications moving from traditional on-premise to either IaaS, into cloud, into SaaS. And the days of bringing all of your users back into your head office network to control them, filter them, and then hairpinning them back out onto the internet are on the way out. User bandwidth at home is growing at an exponential rate. I myself here have 2 gig symmetrical fiber to the premise. Whilst I can't use all of this on a single device, 80 to 100 meg is easily possible when working on large documents, large Teams video calls, whiteboard sharing, uploading large files. And you can only have so much bandwidth at your office before the costs just start getting out of hand. So you need to find another way. So how can IT help solve these issues? And what we're here today to talk about is SASE, or SSE. So for those of you that aren't familiar, what actually is SASE? So the SASE stands for Secure Access to the Service Edge. It's a revolutionary approach to network architecture that combines what was traditional wide area networking, your WAN, network security services into a single cloud-delivered service model. This unifies multiple security features, such as your firewalls in the cloud, or firewalls service, secure web gateways, which would replace proxy servers, cloud access security brokers, which is difficult to do on premise, data loss prevention, as well as setting you up for zero trust network access with WAN capabilities, such as SD-WAN, and delivering these services through a cloud infrastructure through SASE provides you with a seamless, secure, and scalable access to your applications and to data from anywhere, wherever the users may be, enhancing their performance, security, but also creating a frictionless experience for the user, which is what we're all about here, is making things just work for end users. This integrated model addresses the needs of modern enterprises by simplifying network management and fortifying security in an increasingly distributed and dynamic digital landscape. So why Cisco for SASE? Cisco is currently the leading choice for SASE solutions due to its comprehensive and integrated approach to networking and security. Cisco SASE offerings, such as what we're here to talk about today in Secure Connect and Secure Access, provide you with seamless and secure connectivity for your users' devices and applications, regardless of the location of each, bringing the mantra of from anywhere to anything. Here on the slide, you can see here a representation of the various options which are available within the SSE cloud, within the Security Service Edge. These are your gateways, DLP, cloud brokers, zero trust, digital experience, the main one, Talos threat intelligence, malware protection, and these are not physical devices. So these are scalable. These can grow with you, with your users, and it's just on a simple subscription model. And by consolidating these multiple security features, like we've just discussed there, it allows you to access these through a single cloud delivered service. And with Cisco's simplified interface that you already know is your Meraki dashboard, it allows you to simplify your IT management tasks, but also at the same time enhance your security. Additionally, you've got Cisco's extensive experience and robust security measures to ensure the reliable performance and protection against evolving threats that you don't have to keep updating your on-premise applications, your on-premise devices, having downtime. This is all done for you in the cloud. And this makes using Cisco SASE your trusted partner for the future model. Cisco Meraki Secure Connect is an excellent choice for organizations of your size who are seeking a comprehensive and integrated secure access service edge solution. It seamlessly combines the Meraki's robust SD-WAN capabilities with the advanced security features, providing secure, reliable connectivity for users, devices, and applications. And additional features like clientless, zero trust network access, enhanced Meraki SD-WAN integration, and secure remote access. The Secure Connect platform ensures a consistent access and controls across all your connected sites. Its unified management through the dashboard simplifies your deployment, your ongoing management tasks, reduces your complexity and also costs, whilst improving the user experience. This makes it an ideal solution for modern enterprises looking to get into the SASE model. Adding SASE to your existing Meraki network. So adding Cisco Secure Connect is remarkably straightforward for you guys. The integration leverages the familiar dashboard interface, which simplifies your processes. Nilesh will show you more of that in the demo shortly. But the existing SD-WAN customers seamlessly connect their branches to Cisco Secure Connect with minimal effort. The setup involves configuring simple SD-WAN settings, establishing secure connections into the cloud, and this is all still managed through your dashboard interface. The ease of integration ensures that organizations can enhance their network security performance without significant disruption or complexity. Adding remote VPN users to an existing Meraki network is a seamless and straightforward process. Again, leverages the Meraki dashboard. Administrators can configure remote access settings in minutes. It simply involves selecting the regions, DNS servers, identity providers for the user authentication. Once all these steps are completed, remote users can connect to the network using this new Cisco Secure Client. Some of you may know that as the AnyConnect client, which is now been replaced with Secure Client, ensuring secure access to your private applications from anywhere, wherever the users are on the globe. This streamlined integration minimizes complexity and disruption, allowing organizations to enhance their network security with minimal effort. So, what do you get with Cisco SASE? Fundamentally, you get a unified solution with advanced cybersecurity benefits that benefit the combination of software-defined wide area network, your security service edge, into a single integrated Meraki dashboard solution. It also sets you on the path for zero trust network access, ensures secure access by validating users, devices, based on identity, posture, and the context of what the user is doing and what applications they're accessing. You get comprehensive security, which includes features like cloud firewalls, cloud brokers, cloud DLP, all scalable to your needs. You also get seamless remote access for both client-based through the secure client, or also clientless, allowing better connectivity for remote workers, for contractors, for BYODs. However users want to consume applications, there is a solution for them to do so in a secure manner. It gives you unified management through your known Cisco Meraki dashboard. You basically just get an additional option within dashboard to configure with, which we'll show you shortly. You get enhanced performance because you're no longer reliant upon a limited bandwidth connection within your office or limited size of devices that you've purchased that may need upgrading. It also optimizes the traffic acquisition. So wherever users are, they connect to their nearest Cisco point of presence and are carried over the high-speed Cisco backbone to get to wherever they need to go. So that part of the software-defined WAN. It's very scalable, almost unlimited. Your growth, your business growth as you expand, you don't need to buy more devices. You just purchase licenses for the users and away you go. It's simplified deployment. It's quick and easy to deploy, reducing your operational costs, operational complexities. And the main benefit, you get support from Cisco, along with industry-leading security intelligence from Talos. So what does this all mean for you? Well, you can remove your on-premise web filtering, on-premise DLP devices, VPN appliances, one-arm concentrators, traditional firewalls. You can make the move of your applications to cloud or SaaS smoother by improving the routing of traffic from clients to their applications, still in a secure way. And as you guys are all here because you use Meraki today in some way, whether that's Wi-Fi, switching, or MX and SD-WANs, the benefit of adding Cisco SASE is as simple as just getting another menu item in dashboard. So the move to SASE Cloud will make that a hub site for you guys. So all of your spokes can automatically connect to it, can route into it. It can also replace your existing head office hub if required, replacing your concentrator devices. And depending on your routing, there is things we can do with the MX licensing to make the most of Secure Connect. But all of your internet-bound traffic now gets sent to Cisco SASE to be filtered, checked, DLP'd, etc., before it goes on its journey to the internet. And this is protecting your users wherever they are, whenever they are, always on, and keeping them secure. And any traffic that is going to another spoke or to an on-prem data center is routed back over the same tunnels. So there's no massive number of tunnels to configure. It's not a complex, 1,000 tunnel spoke system. So in closing, guys, you can upgrade your network to SASE in the most simple and cost-effective way without having to buy new physical devices or have complex migration paths. So thanks for your time. That is all from me. If you have any questions, as I said, please do put them in the Q&A below and we'll answer directly and talk through them. I'm now going to hand over to Nilesh from Cisco, who's going to have some words for you, and then he's going to take you through the demo. So thank you for your time, guys, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Kevin, and thanks for that in-depth overview. That was brilliant to see. So as Kevin mentioned, my name is Nilesh Halai, and I'm going to take you through a demo to actually bring this to life and see all that great capability that Kevin spoke about. How do we actually implement that within the Meraki dashboard and how it all integrates together? But before we do that, I want to quickly just touch on where our foundations lie in terms of when we are developing our solutions and our roadmap and features and functionality. We're really sort of honing on these three different key aspects where whatever we're building has to fit into one of these three buckets, essentially. And so what we're really targeting here and trying to do for our customers is actually, one, deliver that better for the end user. And I think Kevin touched on this a little bit. So how do we make sure we deliver that best-in-class end user experience, regardless of where that user is connecting from, regardless of what they're trying to connect to in today's hyper-distributed world? How do we deliver that best-in-class end user experience? And you saw a slide earlier where we sort of looked at like a user should be able to just open their laptop, authenticate, and just get to work effectively. They shouldn't have to worry about the plumbing of the network. How do I connect to the application, or do I turn on VPN, etc.? All of those different things. And then we also focus on that easier for IT. How do we make sure we are delivering that ease of use and lowering operational cost and management when our IT teams are deploying these solutions effectively? So you saw all of those great capabilities like the DNS security, the secure web gateway, the CASB, the VPN, the DEM, all of that great capability. We deliver that all in a unified architecture, and you'll see that in the demo in a minute. So you're not having to maintain multiple different solutions and try stitch it together. It has a common policy structure between all of that, and obviously that common single dashboard across that to lower your operational cost and ease of use and simplicity for the IT team. And then lastly, we want to make sure it's safer for everyone. Anyone who's connecting to our environment, that's connecting to our SSE cloud or to the Meraki network, how do we make sure they are safe and secure wherever they're trying to connect to? In terms of whether it's the internet or those private applications, how do we make sure there's nothing malicious happening in their devices? And this is where the Talos threat intelligence comes into it. So we underlay that in everything that we do to make sure that user is protected. So let me show you what this actually looks like in practice. So I'll dive into our dashboard, and hopefully you can see my screen. But this is our Meraki dashboard, and obviously most of you are probably familiar with this. And here you can see a quick overview of my organization of what's going on. So I've got all of my different sites here, my global sites, and at this particular page, I can see an organization-wide overview, the health of my sites, what's going on, how much traffic is maybe going through there, how many users I've got connected to those sites, what type of sites they are effectively. So I can get a quick glance of what's going on across my entire Meraki network. And when we think about Meraki, it's not just wireless or just switching or your SD-WAN. We like to think of this as your digital IT platform effectively. So yes, we do the networking, connecting all of your wired ports together. We do the Wi-Fi, connecting all of your users wirelessly to our network and the internet. We do the SD-WAN fabric, which is what we're going to talk about in a bit more detail. We're connecting all of your branch and your locations together in an automated fashion. But we also do much more than that as well. We do things like cameras, IoT sensors, we do application health, all delivered through that same Meraki dashboard. And now taking it a step further, we've added on all our SSE capabilities into the Meraki dashboard. And this is what I'm going to really focus in on today and showing you what that can deliver effectively. So as you add on your SSE licenses into the Meraki dashboard, effectively what you'll see here on the left-hand side, where you typically have your wireless, your switching, we'll add in another menu now called Secure Connect, effectively, which is our SSE platform. But this is fully integrated into the Meraki dashboard. So as I click into that and I go to the overview, you'll initially see how we're pulling in all of that security capability and all that security telemetrics into the Meraki dashboard. So you can actually see what's happening in my environment, how many security events I've had, how much traffic is going through my environment, how many different policies I've got set up, different tunnels, how much roaming users I've got. We pull in all this information so you can see this now on your networking platform or from that security platform. So we're converging all of that together effectively. But let me show you how simple this is to deploy. So based on the fundamentals of simplicity around the Meraki dashboard, we've really made this super simple to deploy and manage in that environment. So let me show you a couple of things what we do. And I know Kevin touched on some of this sort of process earlier as well, but I want to sort of show you and bring it to life here. So one of the first things that we want to do essentially is integrate users into our platform. And this is obviously a very important part because identity is sort of what protects that user to what they should be able to connect to effectively. So we integrate with any third-party identity provider. Obviously, you can use Cisco identity provider with things like Geo, but we also integrate with third-party identity providers. So anything that supports SAML integration, you can integrate into this. So whether it's Entra ID or whether it's Okta or whether it's Geo, we can integrate into those identity providers to bring in your identity into the platform so we can see who that person is when they connect to our network and what they're trying to connect to effectively. So the idea is per user, per application, visibility with device posture on there. And I'll walk you through that process of what it looks like. Now, in this particular demo, I've already got some users integrated into from my IDP, so it won't show you the wizard on here, but essentially this is set up as a wizard where in a couple of clicks, connecting the identity provider with your Meraki platform using APIs effectively will make it super simple. And then we pull in all of the users and the groups that those users belong to, so we can start applying policies and control points as part of all of that. So once we've sort of integrated our users and we can identify who's who and authenticate them through their traditional MFA or whatever solutions that they may have, biometrics, we want to sort of connect those sites to our application. So when you think about our SD-WAN fabric, we may have 1, 10, 50 locations. In a traditional SSE solution, what you have to do is obviously connect those branches or those locations into the SSE fabric. And that traditionally involves adding in IPsec tunnels from the edge into the SSE platform, essentially. Now, that's fine if you've got 1, 10, 5 locations, but as you start growing and you've got 10, 15, 20, 50 locations, it can start becoming a nightmare because you have to create multiple IP tunnels per locations, and then something changes, you have to recreate those tunnels, or the internet connectivity changes, the tunnels break down, you have to rebuild those tunnels, and it starts becoming a bit of a nightmare. So using that trusted OTA VPN technology that you guys are used to and been using as part of your SD-WAN fabric, we now extend that SD-WAN fabric into our SSE cloud using the same OTA VPN technology, which has those self-healing tunnels and the self-aware tunnels so they can rebuild them themselves. So let me show you how simple we make this. So if I've got a couple of sites that I want to connect to my SSE cloud, you saw there was only 2 on there, but I may have multiple sites, I've added new sites on, or this might be a fresh deployment. And you'll see all of my different MXs that I've got available on this list. That will show up on this list. I can obviously increase this if I've got multiple locations. But not just my physical locations, you can also see my virtual locations as well. So things like our VMXs. So if you're running VMX in AWS or Azure or Alibaba Cloud, those all form as part of your SD-WAN fabric, which is what we connect into the SSE cloud essentially. So here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a couple of our US locations. I won't select all of them, but I can select all of them if I want to. I can select 10, 50, hundreds of locations. And essentially all I'm doing is saying, hey, connect this to a particular region of our SSE cloud to give me that same, all that great capability that Kevin spoke about for all of my branches effectively. And the way we do that is we don't make you connect it into, say, New York and Ashburn and all these individual data centers and then create redundancy tunnels. We create a pairing of these data centers and we create that high resiliency as part of it. So here we can just say, hey, connect these particular sites to my US West location, which will be Los Angeles and Palo Alto. And you'll see that will come up now in my assigned locations into the region, and click on next and save. And as easy as that, I've now connected those 150 or hundreds of locations into the US West data center region to give me all of that great SSE capability across all of my locations, essentially. So you can see how simple we make this. And because it's using the OTA VPN technology, it doesn't matter if something changes in the environment, there are self-healing tunnels so they can rebuild themselves as things change in that environment. So now that we've got our users integrated into the platform, we've connected all of our sites to the SSE cloud and obviously our data centers as well. We can do it in the exact same way where we might be hosting private applications. Everything can now talk to each other effectively. So the next thing that what we need to do effectively is define our private applications. So when we go to our applications and resources, this is where you define those private resources that we may have that we want to expose to our roaming users or our branch users so they can access that security using zero trust network access capabilities. Now you can see I've got a couple of application groups already set up for my doctors team, my finance team. But to show you how simple this is, I can obviously set up a new application over here. So I can obviously name this particular policy of applications, and this could be the accounts department, for example. I will pinpoint exactly where that private application lives within my private network. So I'll put in the internally reachable address, the port, the protocols that it uses. And then how do I want that application to behave? Do I want to use zero trust access? So do I want to allow users that are roaming outside of my network to be able to connect to that private application using zero trust network access? And should that be client-based zero trust network access, or should that be browser-based access? So browser-based meaning you don't have to have an application on your device. So we typically see a good use case for this for things like contractors. So you may have contractors that you want to give access to those private applications, or you may have BYOD type devices that you want to give access to those private web applications. You can do that as well. And then as Kevin mentioned, we've also ported in things like our VPN as a service into this as well. So again, you can give network-based VPN access as well. So for your traditional applications that might not support zero trust, you can still also use the VPN as a service. Now in our VPN as a service, we've also built in zero trust principles into that. So you can still do that per user, per application policy with that device posture on there. So this really gives you that end-to-end private access capability without having to manage multiple different solutions, a separate zero trust solution, a separate browser-based solution, a separate VPN solution. We consolidate this all in a single solution with a single policy engine. And we'll look at the policy engine very shortly as well. So now that we've defined our applications, we can also define our posture on there. So when I talk about posture, we want to talk about things like, what does a healthy device look like before it's allowed to access our private resources or connectivity and within our network effectively? And we can apply different types of rule sets on this. And again, based on whether it's a client-based connectivity or a browser-based connectivity, because obviously what we have on the application, there's different things that we can sort of control on there. But you can go down to things like, have you got the latest operating system on there? Or we have a grace period, like, hey, it should be no more than 2 weeks old, the operating system, because we know there might be vulnerabilities in the operating system. Has it got firewall turned on there? Has it got a antivirus on there? Has it got a complex password? All of those checks that we can do. So we verify the identity. We'll obviously connect that to that site, wherever they need to connect to, but we'll also verify the posture of that device, make sure it's healthy before it's allowed to connect to those applications and data. And to tie all of this together, let me show you how simple this is. When I look at my zero trust access policies, all I'm doing is now gluing those different bits together. So the application, the user, and the resources that we defined, we just glue them together. And you can see I've got a couple of policies already on here, but it is super simple. At the bottom, we have a deny rule because we want to deny access to everything. But then you set up your different allow rules. And then it's as easy as defining what users or a group of users, maybe it was the finance team, what resources do you want to give them access to, whether it's a particular resource or a group of resources that you've grouped together. What posture profile should be applied to that we just set up, that, hey, you should have the complex password on there, it should have the latest operating system, and click on save. As easy as that, I've set up a rule now to allow that finance team access to those finance applications as long as their device is healthy and they've passed their authentication from an identity perspective. So you can see how easy and simple we'll make tying this all together. Now, the other thing I want to quickly just show you as well is that VPN as a service that Kevin spoke about. And again, what we're doing here essentially is doing a lift and shift of your traditional VPN, but adding in more security capabilities part of it and delivering it as a service essentially. So again, you can see either the task that you may have within this to set this up. You can go through this like a checklist, make it a wizard and make it easy. But I'll just walk you through this very quickly. Now, because I've already integrated my sites into this, you can see I've already got a couple of sites already in here, but you may have another site that you want to connect into this. So you can add in additional regions just for your VPN connectivity. You configure your DNS settings for that. So how is that site reachable from a DNS perspective? And then you can also manage your secure client. Kevin spoke about the replacement of AnyConnect, what we call secure client, is our unified single agent that we have for our endpoints that allows us to manage all of this through a single agent on the client. You don't have to have multiple different agents. And that's where secure client comes into it. And this is how we define the parameters of secure client, how it should behave from a VPN perspective, as well as things like traffic steering. So where should that traffic go and how should it behave? When a user's trying to connect to that particular application or that particular traffic. Should we be having things like split tunnel on there? Should we be doing things like sending all that traffic? And you can see from a graphical representation of like local traffic should go through the network, maybe some exceptions in terms of destination, and then what traffic goes over the particular VPN tunnel. So you can see exactly how it works and define and have that granular controls as part of that. And then lastly, let me show you just a couple of more things. I wanted to show you around our policy configuration, how simple we've made our intent-based policy on this. And the whole idea around this is obviously what we wanted to do was have it in a sense of the idea of a collapsed policy. So you're not having to maintain multiple different policies, a separate policy for your internet, a separate policy for your private applications. We've collapsed it down into a single policy engine. So here you'll see I've got policies set up on here for things like obviously my private access and my internet access. And if I want to set up a new particular rule, so you can see obviously my internet access here, my private access here, I can choose, okay, this is an internet bound rule. So click on internet bound rule and you'll see here, it's very intent based. So again, I'm going to call this one Facebook because I want to block Facebook for a particular set of users. And this could be anything, any category that we have from our Talos engine. And you see it's based on source, the action and the destination essentially. So again, very similar to how I tie that other policy together, I can go and click on sources and maybe it's the doctor's team. What destination are they trying to get to? So I'm putting Facebook here. And easy as that, click on next, click on scheduling, and I've saved that particular rule to block Facebook access for the doctor's team. So you can see how simple we make this and how we tie all of this together. Now, before we wrap up on the demo, last thing I just want to show you very quickly is all the different other policies that we have. Now, obviously, we spoke about some of the policies, like things like how do we control the internet, how do we control DLP, but there's a ton of great capability built into our architecture. So things like DNS security, so the first line of defense, things like the firewall policy, where we can do layer 3, layer 4, layer 7 cloud delivered firewall policies, our web policies for SSL decryption, things like DLP, making sure there's no data leakage out of organization, any confidential information, even things like using things like ChatGPT or generative AI tools, we can apply DLP policies and web policies on those as well, so you can control usage of those Gen AI tools as well. So some great capability built into this platform, and you can see there's a whole host of different configurations and settings that you can do as part of all of this. So hopefully that gives you a great overview of our Meraki dashboard with our SSE integration, our Secure Connect integration into this. I'll give you, if you do want to obviously have a look at this in a bit more detail, do reach out to your account team where we can do more of a deep dive session based on your use cases as well. So with that, I want to wrap up on the demo, but what I do want to do is we've got a quick interactive poll for you guys as well. So I just want to sort of start off the poll. Sort of just get a pulse of what you guys are thinking, what's important to you, and what's top of mind for you effectively. So if you wouldn't go on the tool, you'll see obviously where you can respond back to this poll. And the question here today is, which aspect of Cisco SASE are you most interested in learning more about? And you can go in there, select either one or all of the above. And again, obviously, we'll focus the attention on that as well. Then we'll see again the poll results shortly come up on here in terms of what is important to everyone and what they're really focused on. And we can see here as it comes through, obviously, a lot of people have actually selected all of the above. So we can see this is a really well-rounded conversation today. And obviously, most folks are interested in quite a lot of the different aspects. But we can also see around the zero trust and the network security. So obviously there's a bit more around the security side skew as well. So again, we can do sort of more follow-ups with you guys and talk about the network security, talk about that zero trust architecture. Or if you want to learn about the whole rounded solution, we can sort of focus on that as well. So Thank you so much for participating on the poll. And with that, I would look to pass it on to Louis to really walk us through our enterprise agreements.
Thank you, Nilesh. Great overview over the Meraki dashboard and how it all integrates together. And today I'd like to try and relate the simplified management of SASE through Meraki and talk to you around how we can simplify the route of purchase via enterprise agreement. So if we look to the left, the usual route to market we like to call a la carte. This is from a general licensing perspective. It could be any form of standard 3-5 year license, a subscription, or Meraki co-term. There can be numerous issues that you might relate to these licensing options, with heavy admin when added in licensing, discussing back and forth with account managers to purchase, or the constant movement of your Meraki end date when a license is added to your co-term agreement. Now, if we look to the right where we see enterprise agreement, this is where we can simplify the whole approach. Now, there is one single end date that doesn't shift, one single set of terms and license key, and the ease of adding licenses in as and when you need through the portals. And in case of the Meraki theme that we're talking about today, this is all done within one dashboard and is really simple and unified. Next slide, please. So the enterprise agreement encompasses a vast array of Cisco technologies, as I'm sure you can see on the screen. If we look towards the center of the diagram, there are 5 different portfolios. That is networking, collaboration, applications, security, and services. Then further out, if we look towards the outside, these are all the main technologies available in the EA with a couple of additionals. If you're new to enterprise agreements, all of these can be added into the EA. And they can be added together as a mixture of different technologies, or they can be added in separately. So as an example, we can have Meraki infrastructure and SASE or secure firewall. And we can take from different portfolios and locking them and take different technologies. Or if you like, you can go solely with just Meraki or solely with Cisco DNA. If we do look towards SASE though, in the security portfolio, this might sit, or it can also sit within networking infrastructure. When we can tie them together with either Cisco networking, or we can tie them together with Meraki. This would be the preferred route, as it all sits under one tenancy for Meraki. So it does streamline the procurement process, and it allows for a lot of flexibility whilst you're procuring it. For example, if you wanted to look at the potential of upgrading licenses whilst reviewing an enterprise agreement, you very much upgrade from essentials to advantage licensing to fit with different features within SASE that you're trying to achieve. And if you are already an EA customer or you're a Meraki EA customer, then you can add the SASE into your EA currently. So now that you've seen what the EA actually looks like and what can be included, I'm just going to talk you through what the actual benefits are in the next slide. So there are numerous benefits around licensing and procuring through an EA. They're more flexible and they're more accommodating against standard licensing, and they often provide more visibility around what you have and how it is being consumed. Further to this, there are 3 pillars that we're going to cover on this today. First is going to be financial savings, which is arguably the most important piece. The financial benefits to an EA are financial predictability. This would be through fixed discounts in the dollar purchase prices, ensuring that you have, as a customer, and avoid yearly Cisco price increases. We've averaged this out and it's anywhere between 7 and 10% increase year on year. So from the start of the agreement, this is fixed in from a USD pricing perspective and discounting perspective, so that there's no shock in terms of increase of license cost over the term of the agreement, whether it be 3, 5, or 7 years. Then if we look at buy more and save more, this one pretty much speaks for itself, but the enterprise agreement is an economies of scale agreement. The more you purchase, ultimately, the more you're going to save. And when we talk around more value per portfolio, it means that you're able to utilize the features of your licensing a little bit more, and this is something that Softcat are able to support with and take you through the journey of, and the flexibility to upgrade and change tiers of licensing within the enterprise agreement. Following on from this, we have operation and efficiency. I think these ones pretty much speak for themselves, but we have fixed end date, we have a single contract and a single set of terms that are there to be signed, and a single supplier. Ultimately, this very much streamlines the process. There's one single point of contact that you have to add anything in, or you can add it in yourselves, as we've already discussed. And then finally, if we look at the acceleration of innovation, and this is one of the biggest pieces of an EA when we look at true forward billing and value shift. True forward billing is the accumulation of in-year licenses that are added into the agreement that are reviewed on an annual anniversary base and then charged to you, the customer, based on the years remaining of the agreement. What this offers is a potential saving in what you would typically spend on license costs. When we look at value shift, this also ties into true forward, as it can actually reduce the true forward values, because what you're looking to do in these instances is exchange the value of existing licenses that are unused and transfer it into a new license and pay the difference. So the cost of entry to new licenses can be lowered with the investment that you've already currently made into the agreement and reduce the additional cost for new licensing. And then we've got access to new software capability. This can be deployed or co-termed as and when you need. And it could just be a slightly easy entry point to new technologies that you might want to try if you've got lower amount of years left of the agreement, and it allows for a lower cost to entry for those overall. And to end, the on-demand deployment piece, again, this is extremely big and a key feature to an enterprise agreement, that when you do need additional licensing, it can be used exactly as and when you need. If there's an emergency, it can be added into the Meraki portal, for example. So thank you for listening. I'm now going to hand back to Ant to conclude the webinar.
Thanks for that, Louis, Kev, and Nilesh. That was great. Thank you. We have got some questions from the audience, which we should be able to get through with our speakers. If anyone else has any questions, please submit them via the Q&A tool at the bottom. First question: what is the difference between Cisco SSE and Cisco Connect? There's probably a couple of ways you might want to interpret that, but Kev, Nilesh, do you want to handle that one?
Nilesh?
Yeah, say that one. I think, did you say Cisco Connect?
Yeah, between Cisco SSE and Cisco Connect. I think maybe this is a
Secure Connect, yeah.
Yeah, a question of Secure Connect versus Secure Access, possibly.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, exactly that. And when we think about both of these solutions, they're both SSE solutions effectively. One is what we like to call unified SASE, so it's converged into that Meraki platform. And one is what we call the standalone SSE, though we have deep integrations into things like our Catalyst platform. But really, when we look at it from a sort of a higher lens of it, they both solve the same problems and deliver on the same outcomes, connecting users from anywhere to applications and data which are highly distributed in today's world effectively. And we have that security layer in between, things like the web SSL web decryption, the CASB functionality, the DLP functionality. That's common across both of them. It's just how it's consumed. One is consumed as what we like to call integrated SASE, which is SSE and SD-WAN with some integrations into it, and one is unified into a single dashboard that we saw on the Meraki dashboard effectively. But like I said, solving the same challenges and delivering on the same outcomes.
Oh, thanks, Nilesh. Next one, can user identities be pulled from cloud-native SSO providers such as Okta and OneLogin?
Yes, so exactly that. So what we talked about earlier, and when we tie this into the identity provider using the integration, anything that support, and most Okta and obviously Entra ID and all of these folks, they all support SAML authentication, which is obviously the language it uses in terms of sending the authentication and how we get a response back, which is the standard go-to process of doing things, and that's supported. So we have an open platform into that. So yes, all your usual identity providers can be integrated into this.
Thanks, Nilesh. Next one. So we would like to understand the use case for Secure Web Gateway versus using just the Microsoft tools to secure endpoints. Example, Defender and its associated tools, and Umbrella for DNS filtering. And then there's a comment: unless you have a lot of external users or BYOD, does it still make sense versus managed devices being the setup? So I think the question there is, what's the benefit of using an SWG over just Defender on the endpoint? I think that's the crux of the question.
Yeah, I can take that one. So these are different enforcement points in our architecture. And when you think about what was known as security defense in depth, right? Like, so the different layers of how things connect and when you're trying to connect to it. The defender or the endpoint security is your last line of defense. That's actually on your laptop, is running on there, and often seen too late when it's sort of on your laptop and it starts executing, right? Like, what you want to do is actually protect it even well before it gets into your network effectively. And that's what the secure web gateway does, and that DNS security. So the DNS security comes before the secure web gateway. DNS security essentially just blocks any communication or connections to those known bad domains. So if we know that domain is bad and it's malicious and there's obviously ransomware in there or phishing or whatever, there's no point even connecting you to that to let you download the ransomware payload for it to then try execute on your machine, which is when Defender will then see it once that payload's on your device. So with DNS security, we block it even well before the connection. The secure web gateway comes as the next step. So it passes through that DNS check for whatever reason, because there's a new domain or the way we've configured it, or you don't have DNS security turned off that particular user, whatever it is. What the secure web gateway will do is any web traffic, as it's going through, it decrypts that traffic and it actually does a deep inspection of that traffic, make sure there's nothing malicious into that, and obviously recrypts that particular traffic on it. So as it's going through the internet and through our cloud services, we're decrypting and inspecting that, make sure there's nothing malicious into that. But that also allows us to do a lot more with that traffic. As we decrypt that web traffic, we can see the traffic. We can see, Nilesh, you're trying to go to this particular website. So you can start applying control points to that. You can say, okay, Nilesh can't access this particular website. You can access this, or you can do granular controls in there. Things like, hey, he can upload to Dropbox, but he can't download from Dropbox, for example. Or like I mentioned earlier, with things like generative AI tools, many organizations are struggling to secure Gen AI tools. Like, what AI tools are sanctioned for our corporate use within our environment, and what information is going into those tools? Like, is someone taking confidential HR information and putting it into ChatGPT by accident, unknowingly into a public tool? So it's that traffic that we can inspect at the secure web gateway and actually block it, control it, which you can't do with just the endpoint security, which is what Defender is effectively. So hopefully that gives
Brilliant.
you some use cases around that to think of it in a slightly different way.
Yeah, thanks, Alesh. Hopefully that answered the question. I'll try and spread this out for you now, Kev. Is this always managed via the Meraki dashboard instead of Catalyst Center?
So in this instance, yes. So in the Secure Connect instance, where it's an integrated SASE, you will manage it in your dashboard. There are some pop-outs for some more complex configuration elements, but they are just pop-outs into other Cisco Connect interfaces. They are not into Catalyst Center. If you're thinking about Viptela and managing that SD-WAN through Viptela or in Catalyst Center, then no, this is a different style. This is purely based around the Meraki switches, the firewalls, the SSE and SASE that goes with that Meraki integration. But if you need things that might be more complex, then we can look at, as we mentioned earlier, around the secure access, which is a separated product. But again, if you want to speak to your account manager, we can have, direct conversations on your use cases and how we can work that with you.
Great, thanks, Kev. Another question, what does this look like from an end user's perspective? Is there a client deployed onto the user devices, or are the connections somehow brokered seamlessly through the platform?
So I'll tell that one. So yes, there are two options. So you've got the clientless access, which is what you know as a SSL VPN. You go to a URL, you authenticate, you get presented with a portal, and there are limited applications that have been published to you, the user, to your username to access. For your corporate users, we do recommend the full fat secure client, which you can pop in the umbrella modules. So again, coming back to the unified client, it's a single client, and there are modules within that for umbrella, for ICE, for posture management, for ZTNA, all loaded options within that based on that single policy. So you could have a policy for Fred, for Barney, for Wilma, all with different access capabilities, but you have that flexibility for third parties or contractors who might not want to have the full fat client, so they can have the clientless option to come in for that remote support or for BYOD users.
Okay, so thanks, Kev. I love the Flintstones throwback as well to the Cisco books. I remember those. Another one, is the licensing tiered for SSE, or is there just one license giving access to all the SSE features you described in the slides?
Yeah, I can take that one. So the licensing is tiered, so we have multiple different options. We want to make sure you as our customers obviously pay for only what you need and you're not overpaying effectively. So the way that we do the licensing is what we'll call a foundation license and a complete license. Foundation will give you all the secure internet access use case. And then obviously the complete will give you the secure private access use case as well as the secure internet access use case. And one of the reasons of doing that is we found like many organizations may have a mixed use environment. An example of this could be you have 1,000 users, but only 500 of them ever work remotely that need the remote access element. So you don't want to have to overpay for 1,000 for everyone to have remote access. You just pay for the 500 on there. And then within those as well, we do have essentials and advantage tiers as well. Again, when you go to advantage, we have the more advanced security features, things like that DLP, the layer 7 IDS, IPS, those belong sort of like in our advantage package as part of that. So yeah, we do have tiers, but the licensing is designed to be simple. It's done on a total number of knowledge workers, so number of users that you have in your organizations. If you've got 500 knowledge workers, typically a Microsoft number, you go with that number, of which how many of them need private access or remote access, and then you can sort of tailor it from there. So it's designed to be super simple.
Okay, thanks, Nilesh. Another one, which Kevin, I think you touched on this. So it's understand we would no longer require UTM/ATP features on an on-premise firewall if SaaS was implemented. However, where the on-premise firewall provides internal segmentation, how would SaaS address this if the on-premise firewall was removed? Kev, I think you touched on potential of removing a firewall.
So the inside to outside, so inside to internet, is the traffic is still destined to go to the Cisco SASE cloud. In the same site, in between VLANs, that's where you may want to look at the advanced security features on, if you've got a Meraki MX, on that layer 7 firewall on the MX between. You needing UTM features on your own network is, if you're in a high security environment, there is a possibility that would maybe need to stay. Depending on the volume, you might be able to lollipop it and send it up into SASE and come back down, but that would depend on your bandwidth as well. If it's small traffic to, maybe a sensitive HR application, you might want the benefit of sending up to the cloud to get processed, inspected, use the Talos information. But it would depend on the use case. It's probably a good one to speak to your account manager on, and we can have a conversation on.
I think to add to that, Kev, the good use case is sometimes we see clients with a dedicated firewall appliance just for VPN as a VPN concentrator, and SaaS is a good candidate to replace those.
The VPN concentrators, it's ideal as they are coming to the end of their life. The cost of replacing the hardware, running it, managing it, patching it, all that goes away for you. And if you're already a Meraki environment, as you've seen, it's just another option to enable.
Okay, I think I've got time for one more question. We have Cisco Umbrella today that does some of this. Is there a migration path from Umbrella to Secure Connect? Nilesh?
Yeah, I can say that one. So yes, the idea around this is it belongs to the same family. When we're talking about our internet security capabilities or our cloud security capability, it belongs in our cloud security family. So we wanted to give an easy migration path for our customers that have embarked on the Umbrella journey already, whether they're using just the DNS security or they're using the secure web gateway, the SIG capabilities. And because it belongs part of the same family, there's two parts to that migration part. The one is obviously the technical migration. And in fact, what we can do is just migrate over your existing policies and your structure and your login and everything into Secure Connect to make that transition super simple. So you can get a quick start and obviously very minimal downtime. And then there's obviously the license side of this as well. So obviously you've made an investment, you bought some licenses, you may have some licenses left on it. So we wanted to build in investment protection as part of all of this. So what we allow you to do is any unused license time that you have within Umbrella can be automatically migrated into Secure Connect, so you don't lose any time at all. So we do it from both sides, the technical side of the migration, yes, because obviously it's part of the same family, we just migrate across all the policies and everything. But also from the licensing perspective, make sure there's an investment protection in that. And again, speaking to your account team, they can sort of work with you to make sure you get all of that also as part of that, and make sure it's migrated over properly as well. So do speak to your account team, let them know that you've got Umbrella today, and that's what you want to migrate over.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nilesh. Okay, thanks for everyone who has asked the questions. I think they were really good questions. So that's it for today. Thanks for everyone for joining, staying right till the end. We hope we provided extra insight, and I'm sure you can agree all our speakers have been great. We'd also like to extend an offer to everyone joining today. Softcat and Cisco are offering a free trial of Cisco Meraki SASE. As we said earlier, if you've got any more questions or are interested in the free trial, please get in touch with your Softcat account manager. We'll be sending out a copy of the recording and slides, but you'll also be able to watch back on demand once it's live on the website. There'll also be a post-webinar survey that will pop up after the event. We'd love to get your feedback, how you found the content. Thanks again to everyone for joining, and to Kevin, Louis, and Nilesh for speaking on the webinar today. We hope you all have a great rest of your day, and thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.